The wind swept across the empty prairies like a warning no one could interpret, carrying dust, silence, and the weight of 1,000 lonely nights. Miles Fletcher, one of the richest yet loneliest cowboys in the entire Montana Territory, sat on the wooden rail of his ranch porch, watching the sun surrender to the evening. He had everything a man could dream of: acres of land stretching beyond the horizon, horses trained with a single whistle, barns filled with harvest, and a reputation feared and respected across counties. But he carried an emptiness heavier than any saddlebag. His wife had died 7 years ago, leaving a scar deeper than any knife. Since then, he lived with only silence, storms, and memories. That changed the day a stagecoach rolled in with a frightened, tall, shy woman stepping down with trembling hands. Her name was Evelyn Hale, the giant virgin bride the local gossip had mocked even before she arrived. She was tall, long-necked, graceful yet awkward, covered in an old lace veil, and carrying nothing except a small wooden chest and an even smaller voice. She had never known comfort, affection, or safety. Life had hurt her more than any person should endure. Miles noticed her fear before he noticed her beauty. She kept staring at the ground as if the earth could swallow her fears with her. When he approached, boots heavy on dust, she trembled, not out of fear of him, but fear of the unknown. Miles spoke softly. "Ma'am, are you Evelyn Hale?" She nodded slowly, eyes shining with unshed tears. Her father had sold her off in a marriage arrangement she barely understood, sending her to a man she'd never met. Her first time stepping onto a ranch, her first time riding a coach alone, her first time meeting a man who wasn't shouting, demanding, or hurting her. "First time's hurt," she whispered to herself, voice cracking. Miles, hearing it, felt something inside him shift. "Not this time," he said gently. "Not with me." He took her luggage, light enough to show she owned barely anything, and walked her to his home. Everything was new to her: the wooden floor, the fresh smell of hay, the warmth inside the cabin. She flinched at small sounds, moved carefully like she expected to be punished for breaking something. As night fell, Miles tried to ease her fear, offering dinner, water, rest, yet she could barely hold a spoon without shaking. "I'm not used to kindness," she confessed. Her voice cracked again, and this time a tear followed. He handed her a cloth. "Then let me show you what it feels like." Later that night, a thunderstorm crashed across the western sky. Loud, sharp, violent. Evelyn, terrified of storms, terrified of everything, ran out of her room and hid near the barn, curling in the hay like a frightened fawn. Miles found her there, sobbing silently, clutching her lace dress. "Why do you cry?" he asked softly. Her voice quivered. "Every first step hurts. Every new thing hurts. Every time someone has power over me hurts." Miles knelt beside her, his voice steady and warm. "You're safe now. I promise I'll make it easier. Every day, every step." She looked up at him with wide, fearful eyes, and in that moment, their story truly began, not with passion but with protection, not with romance but with relief, not with possession but with a promise. And promises in the Wild West were stronger than any storm. The morning after the storm arrived, with golden sunlight streaming through the barn slats, painting lines on Evelyn as she lay curled in hay. When she awoke, Miles had already placed a blanket over her shoulders and a cup of warm tea near her hands. She blinked in disbelief. No one had ever cared this way. "You didn't have to do all this," she whispered. Miles smiled softly. "I did, because someone should." Over the next days, Evelyn tried to settle into the ranch life. Her height made her graceful around the horses, and her gentle hands calmed the nervous ones instantly. Miles watched her from a distance, admiring how this frightened woman carried the strength of a mountain underneath her fear. But the town people whispered cruelly, "The giant bride, the shy virgin girl, the cowboy must be desperate." Evelyn heard them. She hid her tears behind barns and stacks of hay, pressing her palms to her face so no one would hear her sob. One evening, Miles found her again, eyes red, breath trembling, shoulders shaking. "They laugh at me," she cried. "Everything new hurts. I can't do anything right." Miles stepped closer, placing his rough, warm hands on her trembling shoulders. "Listen to me," he said firmly but kindly. "You are not too much. You are not too big. You are not wrong. You are exactly what this ranch needs, and exactly what I prayed for." She froze, shocked, fragile, hopeful. He continued, voice low and gentle. "You think your first steps hurt because you're weak. But they hurt because you're brave enough to take them." A tear rolled down her cheek, but this time it wasn't from fear. Miles brushed it away with the back of his fingers, the touch warm and steady. He didn't rush her. He didn't push her. He simply stayed, silent, patient, breathing with her until her sobs calmed. Over the next weeks, Evelyn's confidence slowly grew. She learned to ride a horse, to milk cattle, to cook without flinching at every sound. Miles always stayed nearby, not controlling, not demanding, just quietly watching, guiding, protecting. One evening, as the sun dipped red behind the ranch, Evelyn approached him with a trembling smile. "I'm not afraid, not like before," she whispered, "because you kept your promise." Miles looked into her eyes, no longer glassy with fear but soft with trust. "I'll keep it for the rest of my life," he replied. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his chest, breathing in the scent of dust, leather, and security. For the first time in her life, she felt safe in someone's arms. And as the sky turned gold and shadows stretched, Miles wrapped his arms around her gently, holding her like she was the most precious thing he'd ever touched. "If you're watching this," the narrator's voice would say, "don't forget to subscribe for more powerful Wild West stories, stories of courage, love, healing, and the kind of promises that change lives." And somewhere in the quiet heart of Montana, the lonely cowboy and the giant gentle bride finally found something neither had ever known: peace.